The industry has drawn the line, its chart line. Today, July 29th, 2026, a coalition of every major label and a significant group of leading independents published a joint framework proposing that AI generated music should not be allowed, not be eligible for official music charts worldwide. Wow. This is happening the same day the Michael Smith sentencing takes place. The same day August oral arguments in UMG versus Suno are weeks away. The industry is moving on multiple fronts simultaneously. So let's break down what exactly is buried in this proposal and the significant complication buried inside it. You see, the breadth of this coalition is pretty significant. All three majors, UMG, WMG, and Sony, and a strong independent contingent, Believe, which is one of the world's largest indie distributors, BMG, Concord, HYBE, the Korean major behind BTS, Dirty Hit, Glassnote, Mom and Pop, Partisan. This is not a major label initiative with indie participation. This is a genuine cross-sector coalition. Notably, the RIAA and the IFPI are not in this specific press release. They published their own AI tagging framework earlier in July, as I covered on this channel, a voluntary two-tag system for streaming platforms. The two initiatives are aligned in spirit, but came through separate channels. Both are voluntary. Neither has been formally adopted by any chart compiler, including Billboard, as of today. The fact that UMG, WMG, and Sony are all in this coalition simultaneously, while UMG and Sony are still actively suing Suno, and WMG has settled, is itself worth noting, isn't it? They are aligned on the chart question, even while divided on the litigation strategy. Let's take a look at the framework criteria. As you see on the screen, we have 6 criteria, and all 6 must be met. Failing any one of them disqualifies a track from chart eligibility. Number 1, authorized AI. The AI tools used must be properly licensed. An unlicensed or legally contested AI platform would fail this criterion. Suno users, wake up and smell the coffee. Number 2, substantially human-made. This is the central creative threshold. The recording must be primarily the product of human artistry, not purely synthetic. What substantially means exactly is not defined in the proposal. That definition will matter enormously in practice, but it could be quite, how should I say, a dubious definition. But we'll come back to that on a different episode. Number 3, no fraud. Tracks associated with bot streaming or chart manipulation are out. This targets the likes of Michael Smith style schemes that this series has covered in the past. Number 4, legally compliant, must comply with copyright, related rights, and personality right laws. Another criterion with a circular problem is that courts haven't settled what is legal yet. And number 5, terms compliant, must not violate the terms of service of the AI platform itself, which means digging in to see, did you prompt ethically in your tool of choice? So this is a wide net, because if a user violates Suno's own TOS to create a track, that track fails this criterion. And number 6, labeled. AI use must be disclosed to consumers on streaming services in line with applicable law and industry standards. So the proposal puts this squarely in alignment with the RIAA and the IFPI tagging system. AI-generated tracks, entirely AI, would not chart. AI-assisted tracks, mostly human with AI as a tool, could chart if they meet all other criteria. But again, who's the judge? And what is at stake for the judge to be biased? All of this is up for grabs. My friends, This is the data that makes this proposal urgent rather than theoretical. Deezer reported this month that in June of 2026, nearly 90,000 fully AI generated tracks were uploaded to the platform every single day. On peak days, AI uploads passed 50% of all new content delivered to the platform. That's the first time in history that AI generated uploads have outnumbered human created ones on a major streaming service. Now, to understand how fast this is moving, when Deezer launched its AI detection tool in January of 2025, it was detecting around 10,000 AI tracks per day. In 18 months, that number has multiplied by 9. And yet, consumption of fully AI generated music remains between 1% and 3% of total streams on Deezer. Now, we don't have this data from everyone else, but what we can infer from Deezer is the supply is exploding. The organic human demand is not following it. No matter what you see on YouTube, my friends, no matter how much people try to push the narrative, just like a casino mindedness or playing the lottery, this does not cut across all AI generated music. Deezer also says that up to 85% of streams on fully AI generated tracks in 2025 were fraudulent. So the small consumption that exists has been deduced as mostly bots. This is the context in which the child eligibility framework lands. An industry drowning in AI upload volume, with almost none of it being genuinely consumed by real listeners, and a significant portion of even that small consumption being fake. The chart integrity argument is not abstract. It is being made in response to a measurable escalating problem. Now, there are two parallel systems, two separate but related industry initiatives running simultaneously. First one is today's coalition framework, which focuses on chart eligibility. It addresses chart compilers like Billboard, an official charts company, and their equivalents worldwide. The ask is don't include AI-generated tracks in official charts. AI-assisted tracks can chart if they meet all 6 criteria, not to mention the significant human contribution, which is highly subjective. And then, on the flip side, we have the RIAA IFPI initiative, which I covered on the channel, all about labeling, right? A standardized 2-tag system, which I showed you. The tag would be applied by artists, labels, and distributors. In some way, this almost incentivizes those who are serious in getting on the charts to use a system such as the RIAA IFPI initiative. But as I covered on this channel a couple of days ago, my fill-in taxonomy system, which breaks down the subtle shades of gray in AI music, is more sensible and preferred by creators, as my chats have demonstrated. People don't want a binary AI, big AI, small AI label system. They want people to know what went into the creative process. Human wrote the lyrics, human created the melody, human created the harmony, the AI just performed the cover. So it's a short change, unfortunately, of the hardworking men and women putting in their creativity into the system, but using AI merely for the cover. But anyway, both systems are voluntary, and neither has been formally adopted as of today. Billboard did not comment on the chart proposal by press time, and no major streaming platform has committed to mandatory implementation of either tagging system. The two systems connect logically, though. If the RIAA tagging system is implemented, platforms can identify AI-generated tracks. Chart compilers can then use that tag data to apply the eligibility framework. But that pipeline requires adoption at both ends, streaming platforms and chart compilers. And right now, neither end has committed. But this is the beginning, my friends. This is probably one of the most important videos that I've put out to show what is coming down the pike. What I see coming down the pike are more restrictions, restrictions on charting, restrictions on streaming, restrictions on royalty. It's coming. And they say, it's a proposal, it's not a policy. The industry is asking. Well, knowing how influential these people are, don't be surprised when you see this within the next 6 months or even less. Now let's talk about the platform landscape. Every platform is handling this differently and the gaps matter. Deezer is probably the most operationally advanced, eager Deezer, as I call them. They have platform level detection since June 2025, 90,000 tracks per day identified, and their detection data is already being used by Billboard for chart purposes. Then we have TIDAL, who drew the hardest line in June 2026. Fully AI generated content ain't getting no money, no bag for you. Distributors are responsible for disclosing AI usage, but Tidal, I know they've got their tools and schemes to know if your music is AI generated or not. Spotify is taking an artist led approach. Spotify is still allowing monetization. They've removed over 75 million spammy tracks though. Apple Music, they're not as significant as Spotify, but they've launched mandatory transparency tags requiring distributors to declare AI generated content, and they excluded over 2 billion manipulated streams in 2025. Cobas launched the detection in February and removes impersonating or manipulative content, and Billboard, the chart compiler this proposal is most directly addressed to, offered no comment by press time. The practical problem is that even if Billboard wanted to implement this framework, it would need consistent labeling data from all of these platforms, which currently have different standards, different detection methods, and different levels of artist distributor compliance. The chart framework assumes a labeling infrastructure that does not fully exist yet. But there's some complications, my friends. This is probably the most important part you need to take away, because where there are complications, things will not run smooth. Criterion number 1 says AI services used must be properly authorized and lawful. Well, that sounds reasonable, but there is a significant problem. US courts have not ruled on whether AI training on copyrighted music is legal or not. That ruling is coming in August in the UMG versus Suno. Until then, lawful is legally undefined in this context. And the practical consequence is UMG and Sony are still actively suing Suno. UMG and WMG have both settled with Udio and built licensing partnerships. Under this chart framework, as written, a chart compiler could reasonably conclude that music made with Suno, whose training has been challenged, as unlawful. It fails criteria number 1, but music made with Udio, which has label deals and licensing frameworks, would pass. This creates a chart-level competitive disadvantage for Suno over Udio before any court has actually ruled on the legal question. And you do know this is likely to influence people in a different direction. This framework is being proposed by UMG, which is simultaneously suing Suno. They ain't stupid. The same institution that has a financial interest in Suno being commercially disadvantaged is proposing the standard by which commercial disadvantage will be applied. What an absolute mess. It makes me just want to pack up, go home, back to the old ages of doing things traditionally. But that's exactly what they want. So they can begin to use AI in their basements and converting AI intelligence tools into human. We've already seen it happen where they ask a human to create the track that AI spat out. We ain't stupid. We know what's happening. It's a big mess. But the confusion, my friends, is the biggest implementation headache that this framework faces. It's very tiring, I must be honest, trying to keep up on a daily basis with what is happening. But it's the lay of the land. It's the new normal. Something is always changing positions every single day. Now, the underlying problem is pretty significant. 90,000 generated tracks per day. I mean, this cannot continue, especially since a lot of them are dubious, right? Just taking Deezer as a yardstick. Spotify hasn't been forthcoming with the data, but Deezer has. And just remember that Deezer is not a big dog like Spotify, but we can infer Spotify is probably facing the same thing. So with 85% of Deezer streams being bot-driven, fraud pretty much, the chart system exists to celebrate genuine creative achievement and cultural moments, protecting it from AI-generated spam. The problem, though, is that a lot of people, just like You great people on this channel watching right now are genuine creators. You're not looking to do a Michael Smith on the system. You just want to share your music and be honest about it. And if any remuneration occurs, then it will all be above board. Unfortunately, we have a lot of bad eggs that are spoiling the entire lump, which is sad. Taking a look at the coalition length, we know that discussions have happened behind closed doors. All three majors plus Believe, BMG, Concord, HYBE, and others align on a single framework. That is, it's a sign of things to come. And I must say, it's quite an achievement. Someone's been doing the underground lobbying and the homework. But the authorized unlawful criterion is circular in so many ways that will cause real problems courts haven't defined, which is why I say it's a contribution to the already existing mess. The oral argument in August for UMG versus Suno is the events that will answer a lot of questions. Using lawful as a chart criterion before the answer exists effectively makes the court case a moot for chart purposes and tilts the competitive framework towards Udio, which has label deals, and away from Suno, which doesn't yet. Suno, hey, what you need to do is begin your own streaming service. But we know they'll be coming for that too. Let's not put the cart before the horse. Well, voluntary without adoption is a press release. The proposal is addressed to chart compilers worldwide, and none of them have said yes. So until Billboard, the official charts, and the others commit to implementing this framework, it's an aspiration. Phew, it's not a standard, thank goodness. I'm curious to know, as usual, my friends, what do you think about this jungle, this craziness? I'm getting so tired of these unnecessary disturbances. Every day, someone's moved a piece, a chess piece, and it isn't in the right direction, at least not for us creators, but definitely for the greedy labels, greedy as hell. Yes, you can be rest assured. They'll always move the pieces in their direction. Think they're thinking about you, the little guy? No, they're not. It's all about the bag. And this is the beginning, because eventually what they would love to do is phase any AI-generated music, AI-assisted music, whether done lawfully or not, into the background, just far into the background, so they can manipulate the narrative, so they can create music in their little walled gardens and push it out to the world and minimize the influence of the creator. Because I have to be honest, when you take a look around you with this whole AI-generated music thing, while there's a significant number of people doing it for the joy of creativity, and to be honest, there are a lot of people that are trying to game the system, and they're pushing out content without any thought whatsoever to game the system like a casino. And to be quite honest, that is not helping the creative community. As long as we continue to have people just creating to game the system like the lottery, like the casino, there'll consistently be pushback, and I honestly don't think there's anything we can do about it. But these folks, some of them, think that the best they can do about it is stop AI music from being monetized, and that will discourage the greed. I don't know. You tell me what you think in the comments. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.